Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session to talk about understanding the movement ecosystem and global resource distribution committee pilots that are ongoing. My name is Jorge Vargas, and I'm Senior Director of Community Resources and Partnerships at the Foundation. I've been around WMF for 12 years, and I am in San Francisco. I'm also the representative member for the Foundation to the GRDC.
And I am Mykola Kozlenko. I have been in the movement for 17 years, and I have been on GRDC for probably 1 month, because we started last month, and I am the representative of the CEE region on the Global Resource Distribution Committee, among my other Wikimedian hats.
All right, so we're gonna try to be super quick because the idea of today is to have a more kind of like interactive session in two groups to talk about the two things and discuss and hear from you all. So welcome. Today, as I said earlier, we're gonna learn a lot more about the future of the ecosystem of movement organizations, what that actually means, and the Interim Global Resource Distribution Committee, or GRDC, that, as Mykola mentioned, was kicked off a month ago. So we want to share with you what these two pilots are, what's the current status of them, what are the next steps for those, and more importantly, as I said earlier, get some reactions, some feedback, some input from you all on what's working and what needs to happen as next steps on both pilots. We're going to give you a quick presentation about the GRDC and also the status of the movement ecosystem pilot. And then we're going to take about 20-25 minutes to deep dive into these topics and then have a quick wrap up at the end. So I pass it over to Mykola.
Yes, so on the Global Resource Distribution Committee, first of all, what it is. I can read this. We are a high-level decision-making community-wide committee, which basically means we are a group of volunteers and affiliate representatives who get like a delegation from the foundation to make decisions and recommendations on a topic of fund distribution. And the two areas we are working on is shaping the structures and policies, both by amending what exists now and developing new ones for how resources are distributed in the Wikimedia movement. And we have the authority given by the foundation to us to adjust the current grant-making structure to better fit the movement and better fit how the movement evolves and what we want to look at like in the future. We are talking about a pilot which is a 2-year experiment because the foundation has not done this before. You heard probably about the movement charter. This is one of the pilots which emerged from the non-approved movement charter. And the main expectations from the GRDC are that we will set the resource distribution strategy across the movement, which notably will define how funds are allocated across regions, thematic areas, and maybe we will define other envelopes to be discussed. You can give us feedback what kind of dedicated fund envelopes, for example, you want to see. We will guide policy and strategy for regional fund committees to mainly ensure that fund allocation along the region follows the same guidelines and the ways funds are distributed in CEE is, for example, comparable to who gets money in Latin America. We are not intervening in specific grants, so we will not be the committee reviewing your grant proposal. We will not be a committee like banning people from receiving this specific expense for this specific project, but we will more give broad guidelines that are followed at the regional level. We will also have to come up with some movement-wide goals and metrics so that we can better decide what is relevant for a grant, what is not, and advise WMF on a total grant envelope. We are not defining the total grant envelope because that's WMF budgeting process, but we can provide recommendations on that, and we can also provide recommendations and work together with AFCOM on issues which are on the overlap of affiliate status and funding. So in the first year, which is 2025-2026, the 3 topics we want to work on are principles. So we will review and consolidate the current funding principles that guide the grant making as we know it today, which is coming from the 2030 strategy. Then we will come up with a draft of the new strategy. So we will design the new resource allocation strategy for the movement based on the existing principles and based on the community feedback, the one we gather today and the one we gather through other channels. And we will have a stakeholder engagement process where we will first design a plan and then implement it to work with different stakeholders who are affiliates receiving grants, who are grant committees, who are our movement partners, and probably other parties that we yet to decide how we will get feedback from, for example, like-minded open organizations, and based on this feedback, make iterations of the process so that by Wikimania 2026 we have a conclusion. So what you should expect from us next? First of all, 2025-26 grant cycle does not change, so your next grant application follows the same process largely as it followed before, except this rapid grants going to CEE Hub that was presented here 2 hours ago. We will define the funding principles expected by December or January. Then we are starting community conversations. This is, in this room, will be our first community conversation like ever, where we will gather feedback and then we will pass it to other regional events. So we will have a cycle of African, Latin American events and in other regions where we will also get feedback on these topics. And then around the first half of 2026, we will have a big consultation process so that we can actively inform our work from what stakeholders think on this process. And on Wikimania 2026, we expect to present the first draft of the new Wikimedia grant strategy and open it for broad community review and input, and we will go somewhere from there. Any questions on what GRDC is? There is a place for inputs right after. If no questions, I give it to Jorge.
Thank you, Mikola. The other pilot, so as a reminder from what Mikola said, 3 pilots emerged after the non-ratification of the movement charter, one around resource distribution, which Mikola just explained, another one around the creation of a product and tech advisory council that's already ongoing, and then the third one, that's the one that is starting a little bit later on, is a discussion around the ecosystem of movement organizations. What do we mean by that? So as I mentioned earlier, this pilot was defined by the Board of Trustees after the non-ratification of the charter, and I'm just going to read it out loud, like a way to co-create an improvised strategy for support of the ecosystem of movement organizations, including existing affiliates and proposed movement entities like hubs that will help to answer critical questions around the growth of new affiliates and the distribution of funds. So in a nutshell, in the past, before the charter, the board and other stakeholders have been asking the question of whether the affiliate strategy or affiliate ecosystem makes sense as it is, or what changes need to happen. There's also emerging new entities like hubs that are being piloted now for 3 years that are not necessarily fitting into the current structure of what we have in our affiliation model. So the whole point of this pilot is to move forward on that concept. So first of all, we want to make sure that there's a very clear scope and role and responsibilities of these different movement organizations. So by movement organizations, again, and sounding like a broken record, and talking about our current affiliate model, but also new things like hubs, other entities that are not necessarily calling themselves hubs, but that are acting in ways that are actively participating into the movement ecosystem. We want to make sure that based on the above, we're really defining and avoiding unnecessary duplication or overlap that currently we are seeing in the movement. And when needed, update the model of affiliation and also what that means for bodies like AFCOM and others that have a say on how we're doing this. So first of all, we want to make sure that there's a cohesive strategy. Currently, there's been a lot of piloting, a lot of discussions that have been separate. We want to be able to articulate all of this in one place. And in order to do that, the very first thing that we did was give a really step back, and we wrote a paper, which was drafted between the foundation and some representatives of the affiliate ecosystem, with the idea of just listing open questions and listing what we were looking at historically, past strategies, like what were the focus areas that were defined for affiliates in prior strategies, like overall what was the status quo over things. Then align on that and develop some specific alignment across the movement on all of that information that we were finding, and then start proposing some changes out of that by March of next year to start looking at whether we can start implementing some ideas or changes in the second part of the calendar year, so in September 2026 onwards. So right now, we started as a step 0 with that paper that was shared and published right before Wikimania in Nairobi. The paper was, as I said, like just not proposing any changes, but just listing what was the status quo of what we were looking at and what were the key questions that we were starting to identify and hear from like different stakeholders. So for example, questions like, is the current model working? Should we actually keep thematic organizations? Like, why are they there? Should hubs be part of this conversation or not? Where do they fit? Who should define what is a hub moving forward? Because right now, AFCOM defines what an affiliate is, or recognizes or not, but for hubs, we don't have that. Should there be a hubcom? Should it be a new version of, like, all of these questions that we've just been hearing from people, and before trying to answer them, like, at least listing them was what we did. So we want to turn now with those questions that we gathered and move them into more specific discussions and prioritize what are the questions that we have. So we're trying to turn those questions into conversations, into discussions on how we can then evolve into like some specific safe to try experiments of changing these different models. So that's going to happen starting in October of next month, starting next month in October, all the way until March of next year. We want to have a more specific drafted proposals finalized by March 2026. That is the time that we are seeing as a big milestone, because that is when the annual planning in-person meeting for the foundation takes place, and where we are seeing the GRDC potentially meeting also during that time, and kind of like have that strategic retreat happen in March 2026. And then with that milestone, define some specific experiments for changing or putting things forward after March all the way to June in preparation to present what has happened in the whole year at Wikimania 2026. Any questions or clarifications before we move into our discussion section? Okay.
Oh, there is one.
Oh, sorry, there's one.
Thank you. Thanks for the very clear presentation of the scope of both experiments and the timeline. As you said, there are many overlaps between what both experiments and groups or experiments are working on. How do you intend to coordinate?
That's a great question. So I think right now there is indeed like a huge overlap between those two. And the problem that we had prior to that was that internally in the foundation, those pilots were being led by different people. So like we, and by we I mean like in the community growth team, had more overview over the GRDC, over the resource distribution question, whereas the one around like movement ecosystem was not. Now I am in charge of both pilots as of like a few months ago. That will allow us to like start connecting the dots better, at least internally. And secondly, we want to make sure that now that we have a GRDC, because there was a question if we were going to be able to have one, now that we were able to like have it and kicked it off in Nairobi last month, we're going to start having members of the GRDC connect more with like the other pilot, like start asking questions on where the GRDC can start talking to like AFCOM and hearing more from them and vice versa. Like, so we're starting to like connect the dots more on that way. But it's still too early, and we're just trying to see how we can make sure that now that we're treating both pilots together, we can keep having the conversations together. But that's a really good question. Thank you.
Yeah, I might have one towards like as well the decision making, because Nicola mentioned on the beginning that this is the GRDC is like decision making structure, and I think this was the point where movement charter committee somehow, or at least like the process design, I think failed, at least from my point of view, that this wasn't perfectly clear. So can you maybe elaborate on this, how we prevent to have the same situation, which was, I think, frustrated for us who as well was part of that, that something what was expected didn't happen at the end. And I think like good good that we every failure as well is good, but I hope we learned from that. So maybe what have you learned, what have we all learned, and how we can like somehow prevent the same situation.
Thank you, Clara. So as someone who was in the movement charter drafting committee for many years, I think that we're trying to like avoid a lot of the things that we did there with the GRDC, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, Mikola, I think that all the time, you can say or you can share how in the GRDC we're trying to make changes.
Well, I would say we try to design also a better like process of making changes so that it's not like all happening in one go, but we have multiple rounds of consultation, and we try proactively already to identify like stakeholders in year one that we need to interact with. Because like one of the biggest problem of the movement charter is that it was like seen as too quick, too radical, and people were probably a bit overwhelmed, especially on the foundation side probably, by like the amount of change happening. So we are trying to design a better like participation process in this decision. So this is not like a committee decided this, but more of like we designed it together with everybody. We will see how it goes, but like we want to talk more to people, and we want to understand better like what their constraints are, so that what comes out in 2 years is not like a shock to anybody.
Yeah, I would just quickly add that the MCDC back in the day, like we were, and Michał was also a former MCDC member that I see in the back, kind of like working in isolation, then putting drafts out there for consultation, but it was like a process that we were like working, and people didn't really have a lot of visibility over that. With the GRDC, I think that the idea is to work way more openly, like all the time. But to your point about decision-making, something that, and I think we're trying to make very clear on both pilots. For the GRDC, from the get-go, before getting into the like the nitty-gritty of what was going to be discussed, we wanted to make very clear where the GRDC has decision-making authority and when they don't. And if they don't, then is it the foundation's board? Is it something else? So now that that is very clear, like where the GRDC has advisory roles and where they do have decision-making authority, now I think we can go into the like weeds of discussion. Actually, I can share one of the next steps that we're doing with the GRDC is to have a joint meeting with the Board of Trustees of the Foundation to make sure that we are all on the same page on when the GRDC decides and when the Foundation decides on certain specific topics, and make that very clear before we get into a place where that's not clear. For the affiliation and for the movement ecosystem, we're not at that place yet, because we realized when we saw all of the questions that some questions are answered, or the decision maker for certain things should be AFCOM, some decision making things should be the board. There's other things where we don't even have clarity on who's the decision maker, or like because it's something new. So for example, if you ask right now, like who should decide if a hub is an official hub or graduates from a pilot, that's an open question. Like we don't know. So like we're trying to define at this point, once we start grouping them, who decides what for that pilot. But that's why, because with the GRDC, we were a little more ahead. We were able to kind of kick off the process now.
Mm-hmm. If I could jump in here. So MCDC was a little bit of a negotiation trialogue in disguise. It was a whole package, as Jorge mentioned, very overwhelming. This one is much smaller, so I'm hoping that it will go through. I think that the MCDC can inform many things over here, the principles of decision making, some other things, resource allocation, which was a part which was going back forth within this process. There was the proposal that I coined with Dariusz about basically the committee that could be doing. So this interim committee is a little bit going in this direction. So I think that we can build upon what was happening there. I'm hoping so, and becoming more and more radical, progressive, whatever we mean here. Personally, I would love to, the interim committee to make more and more decisions, or maybe guidance upon the real numbers, not only principles, but real numbers, but probably we can go there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's jump into this.
Yeah, I can answer very quickly that we do intend to look at like what MCDC designs, so we don't want to throw it into garbage. And then on numbers, it's a tough question. Do we want to come with like numbers first, or do we want to come with like rules first and then define numbers based on this? We will discuss it. So yeah, let's move on to the conversations. We have almost a bit less than 20 minutes, so I don't think we have time to rotate, but there are 2 flip charts, and there will be post-its, and there will probably be, hopefully be people with Etherpads. So on this side, people who want to discuss ecosystem of movement organizations with Jorge, and on this side, people who want to discuss global resource distribution committee with me. So go on my right, on your left if you want to discuss affiliates, go on my left, your right if you want to discuss money. There are questions on these flip charts that we will show you also on the screen. And the idea is we talk for probably now 15 minutes, and then one representative of each group quickly presents the results. So please.
So GRDC, paper. Not paper,
movement
ecosystem.
Movement ecosystem affiliates, GRDC grants money. Here are the questions. There are the flip charts. Please move around the room towards the flip chart you're interested in. We will bring you post-its, and hopefully you will have good time.
plan events or projects is just an individual. Usually some things are easier with becoming an affiliate. Not only partnerships, but also many other things.
I just have a follow-up to that one. Would you say it's mostly to increase your credibility and visibility within the movement, so you maintain serious benefits, or is it more for partners, or is it more for both?
It's also for both, yes.
Is it everything that has to do with the seed,
Well,
or in the movement you can check?
I think like in 1 minute we would probably rather go around to the and then write it down on that. If you want, yes. Okay, yeah. Great. Maybe you can start. Get on to that.
Yeah, that makes sense, because, yeah, like, recognize affiliates have a say on board elections, for example, especially, like, with the MCDC, with the charter backing into the AFL, affiliates have votes, not with the affiliates, so that's not an important purpose. You're gonna say something like that?
Multiple years, and because when we're let's say national show, they're saying twice that I'm move away from and it's not make a sense for church because they want like a formal decision to formal body or like formal sign very difficult. So having the recognition from the foundation sort of like options to use the trade foundation and some other bodies with more centralized process for these grantees and trade lines, but you receive funding in a different way rather than like.
If I could do a quick double click on where we are now and like share what part of the research we found out, like that historically, like if you looked at the movement maybe like 10, 15 years ago, there was a very clear distinction on what was being a user group and what is being a chapter, right? Like number one was the only way for you to have access to a certain amount of money for being a chapter, right? Versus a user group that doesn't exist anymore. Now it's the exact same thing. However, the requirements to become a chapter continue to be like quite elevated. And that's why we're seeing now so many different user groups that started like the Day3 instead of like seeing the chapters. Do you think that changes like your experience? Do you see the benefit of like graduating into a chapter or staying as a user group? Or not really?
You should say about your case, you are now
Yeah,
a
in
chapter.
my case, it's such a sub.
Yes, I mean, you're the newest chapter.
That's to become a user group now is not so much easy as it was before.
Yes.
So yeah, that is things when you change, not you, change the funding strategy, etc. Really, it's make more cargo for us because now we are thinking what's the difference between the user groups and chapters because well, we know how there is difference between the chapters and user because there's a requirement from the appearance. But for the chapters it's not. But then chapters allow you to apply for more funding like a sort of user groups, like a chapter. And more user groups are doing the same work as a chapter do. And if you see the amount of the work and the amount of the chapters, sometimes even some user groups are more active than some of the chapters. And for your funding strategy when changing, it's absolutely
There is always somebody who's bothered.
in the
Yeah.
user groups.
And
from my perspective,
I think it's very clear.
if I didn't like my affiliation community, if they don't receive the chapter system, it would be not that problem. Because they're doing the same.
What of this one?
So nothing was changed. Just, let's say, because the chapter, because we started this a long time ago.
I'm actually
Reached that.
contradicted because
In any case, if the user will not change for us. Nothing will change.
actually we can do everything but not inform.
Maybe we should have some reason to change
All right, so we're super at time, but we're gonna try to do a quick share out of what happened. So Mehman is gonna share for our group, if you wanna join here.
Yeah, so we discussed in our group the ecosystem paper and overlay ecosystem, and there was questions, what's the effect of the recognition, why we need the recognition, and etc. So we agreed that like we are giving the recognition for the affiliates to use the Wikimedia Foundation trademark and funds, which will helps them to develop their projects and programs locally, and also user groups and chapters and thematic organization, other connectors between the community, online community with the global movement. Of course, they will do this work without the recognition, but when you are representing your project and your community with the external partners, it's not easy without having an affiliation. And also we discussed what affiliates need to do and what they shouldn't. We agreed that they shouldn't, not we agreed, but we discussed just, there is no agreement, as always in our moment, that they shouldn't act as a Wikimedia Foundation to defend our platforms. It's a job of the Wikimedia Foundation, so they can do their work. But the affiliates need to be as a connectors between different volunteers and the online community and the global movement. And also we discussed, do we need to change the role of the affiliates? We think that there will be need to be flexible, because some affiliates feels that they need to change their role because world is changing and community is changing, and the number of the contributors in the online platforms is changing. And some of the affiliates thinks that we don't need to change our role, but we need to add some more aspects to our work, like to respond to external trends. Also there are some affiliates thinks that they don't have any enough capacity to change their role in the future, but some they have. So we need to be flexible here. Yeah, basically that's all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will quickly summarize. So for resource distribution and about challenges, the main challenge that emerged was having a balance between trust and long-term planning, because we have a trust-based system now, which is not fully trust-based, because every year you need to give a new proposal. So there were a lot of there was more or less a consensus that we need like some clear pathway for long-term planning, for example, like a 5-10 year foundation grant budget so that affiliates can plan accordingly, with a good balance between like foundation trusts people, affiliates, they will do sensible things. And on the other hand, we have some oversight that affiliates do not like derive into a self-reproducive inertia, because probably one of the things that people want to change is this feeling of inertia that people who received funding 10 years ago keep receiving similar amounts today, and people who got 0 10 years ago cannot grow to this level as easily. And another thing that people want to change is better evaluation of results, because we now have a complex affiliate structures where affiliates contribute to hubs, affiliates have partnerships, affiliates receive external funds, and receiving a good evaluation of what each affiliate is worth and what is the extra value added by foundation grants is currently difficult. And this will potentially unblock this like frozen status quo where we come into question of prioritizing, that we need to choose, like, if you have limited money, where they go to. And one of the solutions that was suggested, not necessarily a consensual solution, is to have more of like an affiliate growth pathway, so that when you first receive funds, you get your like level 1 funding, which is certain amount, and then you grow progressively with growing responsibilities and growing autonomy, but at the same time, you know that there is a clear pathway for growth, that you will be able to develop yourself as an affiliate or as a community. And then there were other ideas, for example, investing into fundraising, investing into partnership, and investing into technology outside San Francisco as priorities that different people wanted to get funded. Thank you. I think that's it, and we are eating time of the next session. So thank you very much for your participation, and feel free to reach out today during breaks or outside the conference by email or talk page to us.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Hi, if you need to stretch your legs, you can stand up and come closer. Especially the one who wants to discuss the grant opportunities to join, because this is something we need you to get the feedback on that. So please just come closer if you're willing to cooperate further. I will then probably come just down, more down. Okay, so we starting late, but I hope we still, I think we still do have capacity enough, and I will probably later on use the mic down there, because we will just like have the short presentation here, and we can then discuss further down. So, Barbara.
It's getting less and less people.
Less and less, perfect, ideal. No, so Barbara Klen, Wikimedia CEE, from the CEE Hub, and Klára Joklová from the Wikimedia Czech Republic, but here more as a steering committee member. Luckily, we got a big help in the first presentation from Valentina from Wikimedia Europe. She worked with us and prepared like the oversee of the whole, all the possible grant joint opportunities which are now in the region, and we will go fast through this together, because we want you to know what is here possible and where are the chances to cooperate. We will go, from my point of view, from the how to say it, less
probable or possible grants that we can do together to the ones that could be good first attempt for us.
Yes, so we will go from, so the last one, the last opportunity, we have 4 opportunities, the last 2 I think are would be the most easier for us, or most probable, so let's go. So these are the 4 grant opportunities that we see now in the region. Would we choose for the start, because this is in the year for CE Hub plan, to support some bigger grant joint application in the region, and we choose that's the easiest because we had lots of history, resources, everything. There are the joint youth project, because we have lots of to continue on. And so we choose these 4 Erasmus, SERV, Vyšegrad grants, and CIE grants as 4 grants opportunities, and we will go through them. Here you can see the deadlines, possible expected deadlines next year according to the previous years. So let's go.
Okay, so as Klára said, Erasmus, I mean, you have all heard about Erasmus Plus. It's a European Union fund, and it has some basic requirements. The countries that can take part are EU member states and those who are associated to Erasmus program. And there are different strands. It's often for school, adults, then specific vocal education, and youth. And there are always requirements how this consortia should be, or what the consortium should be composed of. And minimum it's 3 countries, like from the ones who can participate. And for this small scale partnership, it's even less too. If you look at the budget, you can see that you can get quite a lot of money. So like almost €500,000 for the bigger cooperation partnerships, and then for small scale, 30 to 60,000 euros. But also when looking at grants, when you see that you can get $500,000, these are like quite complex projects. So for us, starting for the first time with youth cooperation, we would obviously prefer to start from smaller and then see and test this partnership and how everything is going.
But Erasmus, on the other hand, is quite competitive. It really much depends on the country where you apply. It's very unpredictable. So this would be personally my last resort when I would go.
Yeah, Clara is right. So basically, although it's like a European-wide program, you don't apply to Brussels, but it's decentralized. You apply in one country. Last year, I don't see Zeus here, but we were applying for one, yeah, she's not here, but we were applying for also one grant, and then we were trying to estimate whether to apply in Greece or in Poland or where we have higher chance. So depending on the country, you have higher or lower chances.
Yeah, the second chance is this SERF. It's a EU fund, and so it's limited to EU states. So that's why it's on the second less probable spots, because we want to be focusing as well on non-EU states. But the possibility is there. It somehow needs to be in touch thematically with raising awareness of the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights. But it's possible to choose any right, even right for information, probably in our case, and elaborate on that, and we all here as well using this right, so it would be possible, but there's no upper limit. That's good thing about it, but as well there's a lot of application in SERF, but this possibility is here.
Okay, then coming to Visegrad Fund, strategic grants and Visegrad Plus grants. If you look at the list of countries, now we listed specifically focused on the CE. There are many, and we also have youth and cooperation in many of these. So we are thinking about this as a good option. You can again see that there are different trends. I will not go into details, but one is especially focusing on volunteering, and this we see as a good opportunity. So volunteering, sharing values. And there is also another one with culture, common identity, education. So definitely it is something that we could fit in. As you can see here, there should be more participating communities, countries. And always when I said communities, this has to be like a registered organization. So even if you're a community, you have to have a fiscal sponsor. You can't apply as an individual. But this is something that we can discuss later. But definitely this would be a good option.
Yeah, and the last is CIE fund. There is as well lots of CE countries, including majority of you sitting here. And there is now empowering youth and women and other vulnerable groups. So it's definitely applied to our situation. You can see there is 6+ CA member states for a thematic agenda. So it's very specific. So we wanted to do this brief overview just for you to know what's there, what we are even talking about, but let's not go too much into the specifics. Let's continue. So these are some key features of the EU proposals. I wouldn't go that much into that. If you would be interested more into this, it's in the presentation. You can read it. Later. But there definitely are topics that we that are
joint interest.
Yeah, joint interest. Thank you.
I would just like to briefly add, just when thinking about joint projects in general and about external funding, there is always this strong focus on collaboration, visibility, and also some added value. So if you don't have this in the project, I don't see any point in submitting. And well, moving to the other one, and I will also point out from everything this, it should be something that can be replicated, because otherwise you are doing it for yourself, there is no point. And sustainability. You are not doing something for 1 year and then it stops. Often in every project that you are submitting, you have to show that there will be some continuation, either that you have resources on your own, or you plan to generate them, or get to them somehow. This is more than enough for now, but now important part.
So this is something that Wikimedia Europe is organizing. Well, so you can join the Masters of Grants Bootcamp for Wikimedia, and so it's more for you and your own grant opportunities. Anything that you would like to learn, you can use the bootcamp, so you can sign up for free.
Yeah, it's like Valentina from Wikimedia Europe is organizing it. You see these QR codes for signing up, and it's an online opportunity. You basically have 3 sessions, each of them lasting 2 hours, if I'm not mistaken. So it's something good first step, either for you or other people in your community who want to start with grants. Okay.
And that's contact to Valentina, she's open. So the last 2 slides we put together with Barbara, because I think we need to take,
what?
On the same play, we need to be on the same
page.
Same page, thank you.
QR code for the registration?
Yes. So we put together what we think, or what I believe could be the good common ground, and that's some support for like future community leaders, which means support young Wikimedians who will pass on their know-how to other young people in their region. This is something I think that could go through, because it's at the end like as well building the civic society, which is important in like almost any grants that we were like displaying here, fights against disinformation, build the capacity to like democratic societies. That will be important in any of grant that we mentioned. And I think we can provide this because through the youth group, through the people that has been there, this was as well the profile of the participants in the youth conference global. So we can just like elaborate on that, and it would be, I think, easiest for us. We already have like lots of people in the group, lots of people participating in the conference. We know each other, we know the communities. So from my point of view, this is something that it's like the workable material. And I would go the way that we would prepare some series of activities that will lead us to join CEE Youth Meeting, something like CEE Youth Conference, regional one. And the ideal timeline would be to go towards this youth conference at the end of 2027, 6, or so at the end of next year, or on the beginning of 2027, because we as well, I think, want to have the next global youth conference in 2 years. That means in maybe May, June, or the second half of 2027, and we would still fit to have the regional meeting before that. So this is how we all like, how we picture that this might happen. And there we need to prepare on this meeting. We should claim that we want to prepare young participants for their local tasks again, because this is sustainable. This is like growing civic societies in the participating countries. Oh yeah, and this here is just like timeline, very preliminary. But as well, I thought that it would be good to have at least like some timeline overview, what we think can happen step by step. That means we are now on number 1, which is define the partners, countries and affiliates, organization, and their meaning your needs. And so the question for today is, are you interested? Would you be interested? If yes, under which condition, and we stole here time on CEE meeting because we are here all in person, so it's the most effective. After this, when we know who could be interested in and on which capacity, we would decide the best grant options. Then we would gather all the requirements for you. We will inform again back you partners and confirm your interest. Then Valentina offered to have the common session about grant specifics because she knows better than we do. And then we would probably find a consultant who would help us to write an actual application. That means we would consult a project plan, create a project. Then there would be still ongoing consultations with you as a partners, and Wikimedia Europe then offered that they can check the application for us on the last resort before applying, and then we would submit the application ideally due to the timeline that I presented previously, February to June next year. So that's why we are starting now. It's about the time, and then ideal start of the project would be summer 2026. And I think
No. I just wanted to say, so if you're submitting, there will always, based on your previous session, when we submit, there will be an evaluation period, and then if we got the money, then we would start. Before we go to this discussion part, which is more important, I just wanted to say that it's. Some of you are experienced with external funded projects, some not. It's not in these projects, when you have several applicants, it's not that everyone does the same amount of job. Those who are less experienced can always do a bit less and then just participate. Those who know more can take over some tasks. So there is really a option that everyone takes part in a different way, or being more active or less, depending on your availability and also knowledge. So when you are discussing this, don't think okay, you will have to do everything. There are more consortium partners and the job is always divided. And obviously there some money comes with external funds, but then it's okay, sometimes it's also for travels often, it's for buying some small equipment if needed, but and covering some staff costs involved. So based on this kind of knowledge that you have now, we can discuss, that's the point, right?
Yeah, we can discuss, the offer stands that Wikimedia Czech Republic would be the one to put all this together, and then we would somehow share the options, and everyone can as well participate its own way. So this is the start. I know it's quite vague, but we need this kickoff at least to hear something back from you. Jessica is taking notes for us. So we will go down now to, and we can discuss now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yep. Okay.
Or if someone has comments or questions.
Yeah.
I have a question for
Wait.
You mentioned before in the presentation that there will be a consultant on these projects. How we will be able to find consultants for our grant applications, and how we'll be able to find our partners, because everyone will have some different project on their mind, and not everyone will be interested.
Yeah, consultant in this way means more the people who actually writes the project, and it wouldn't be us, because there are people who's do this as a job, and we will just tell him what he should write, but he should fill the whole application. That's the idea. So the one who will put the project together, that will probably be us.
Yeah.
The project, the project idea and the activities and. So.
I'm not sure, maybe we didn't understand. Nikos, correct us if we didn't understand. So basically, the idea is no consultant can write thing for you if you don't know what we want to do. When we together discuss, based on obviously call, because call always determines what you can even ask money for. So when we together fine-tuned from everyone who will participate what you are willing to do and what can be done in the framework of that project. Then we are kind of building a bone structure or fishbone structure, and consultant helps us to do it. It can also be one of us writing it, but it's not a problem to find someone. There are people who do this, but we have to know what we want to do.
As well, for example, I think with Visegrad funds, if I'm not mistaken, there is like a limit of the money can be
Like
35,000 euros. In this way, we would really need to limit the activities towards the conference. If we would decide for a CAI funds, this is there's like not such a limit. So it really depends which way we decided to go.
Yeah, just a clarification question. As I understood it, the idea is to bring together a group to do one joint project, so to apply to one grant. Maybe Nikos's question, if I understood, was his understanding might be that other groups might want to apply independently, and like where could they get supported? Is that correct, Nikos? Yeah, like if you wanted to put a group together and apply, you as a group, where would you get support? Yeah.
I mean, something like this grant project is an entirely new thing for me. So, will we have support from you on what projects could we do? Because
So, what I'm presenting now is the situation where Wikimedia Czech Republic is behind this project, and we will elaborate on this with you as a partners. If you want you to write your own project, of course, it's like for everyone, and then speak probably to see what kind of support they could give you. But as well, we would then probably, how to say it, fight towards each other for like the hub support, or like then hub decide which project they want to support this like in a like big way, because for the next year in the plan is that they will support at least one this big joint project within the CEE. Is this understandable? Yeah? Okay. But of course, these grant opportunities are for anyone. So if you feel like doing your own project by yourself or with your partners, go on.
Before I give word to Andrei, because he wants to ask, in my previous job, I was the EU project consultant, and the biggest part of the project is finding project partners, consortium. So this would be solved by having already EU people who are collaborating from different countries and have organizations, or having local partners, because it's also not supervised to have 5 wiki NGOs applying. It would also nice to have someone with different name and also someone like external organization, because it shows like a diversity. So there are different options to do it. But as Clara said, obviously it's not like Czech Republic, because hub can't apply. We don't have legal entity. We have to apply either. We can support anyone from the region as main applicant, not like 100 of you, because we have also limited capacity, but it has to be someone. See, hub can't be the main in consortium. It can be any other country, Nikos, but it's also wise that you start, that it's someone who already has some project experience, and also there are requirements. Often your NGO has to be registered for at least, well, it can be minimum 1, but often 3 years, so you have to check out these basic requirements.
Yeah, what I wanted to ask from you is to clarify how the hub would help, because you have a slide where it says that Wikimedia Czech Republic would take the management part, we would get external consultants to help us write the applications. So how would that work? And a second question would be, when you have this fund, if you reach the number of participants required from that region, can you join in with the people from outside the region, or are they just from that list of country?
Yeah, I asked Valentina that, and depends on the tip of the grant. But definitely, if it's in the region, the other can join as well. And we maybe then decide that we maybe need just 4 partners, but this still means that the participants from the whole region may join. So it shouldn't be limited on that. So I still want to be, at least in my idea, I still want to be open to the as big participants on the grant, and meaning youth people, as possible. So I think it should be even like much wider than that. Then we will go with Wikimedia Serbia, with Wikimedia Romania, and with, I don't know, Slovakia, but then as well much like every other participants can join.
Well, but we didn't answer completely. So also depending on the requirements, if it's like says that only participants from these countries can join, then obviously we will not be able to, at least through this project, fund it. So what Clara mentioned, or what we mentioned, the role of the hub would be now initial to see who would be participating, try to see are you even able to fill these requirements, seeing and defining and brainstorming which topic are we working on, then starting to construct this project, like what will be the goals, outcomes, activities. And then either, if it's a small project, hub can continue writing it, or we have external consultant. But external consultant doesn't mean that someone comes to you and you say, and he will write your project. There is still a lot of prep. Even taking external consultant to finish the project and do the admin part requires you to do like quite a big amount of work, because he doesn't start from zero. So we have to be on the same page and have like this construction on our own.
As I see the role of the hub, it would mostly be to exactly like help with this like partnership part, meaning coordinate our meetings, maybe getting like the information from the partners, right, and more like administrative support towards this, and as well then like clarifying, because it will be I think our like second or third experience in like joint projects, so CEE Hub already knows what maybe works better. So this is what
what to expect from whom, because we had this exercise before when we were applying for Swedish Institute grants. Even now, if 4 of you would say we will work on this, getting feedback from you will be like a challenge and work. So there is actually a lot of, I don't know, admin coordination work behind project application.
Yeah, so what we do need to hear from you now is like, yes, we would be considering coordination, like cooperation like this, count us in, or no, but we would like to send participants to such an activities, let's say.
Asma, please.
Sorry, I have a question. From what I'm understanding right now, there's a lot of roles between partners and the CEE Hub, for example, but youth as an individual within the CEE region, what do you think can develop from this kind of activities for us? And what roles will we play if, for example, we want to be part of it? What role can we play? Are we going to be able to be part of the decision makers, for example? Or are we able to lead our own project, even though we are asking for, let's say, permissions from Hub and something like that?
Well, what we be doing in the framework of the project depends on how we fine-tune the project application. So if one of those suggestions that Clara wrote was supporting youth leaders, then some of these activities would be focused on, well, growing this capacity, training. So there would be options for you. But then, really depending on how we write project application, then each of you in your country who is applicant would be taking over also management and coordination of part of the project. So at this point, it's more about who, in which country, even thinks like, yes, this would be something that fits in our agenda for next year, and we want to take this further, or, oh, this is too much for us at this point.
Like what I would love to see is that we strengthen up your ability to run locally, any local projects, and build your ability to co-organize the CEE Youth Meeting. These two things, and I will try to find like the grant that fits this needs the best. And according to this, I think we will see if like 6 partners is better than 2. We can as well apply just as Wikimedia Czech Republic and searching for the other partners. That's as well possible, and just like approach then young participants. But I still think this is a nice option for all of us to actually cooperate on some joint project, something that we've been discussing for years now. So this is like from my point of view, the easiest, maybe now for me at least, the easiest next like joint application. It's on youth because we already have it all. So just like let's find something that could be really funded by some outer fund outside of Wikimedia. That's the key.
So just maybe to, like, because the time is, I'm thinking almost up. So it's about you showing interest, saying yes, then we seeing which of these funds can even support your country, and then going through the call for application from last year, seeing what can be funded, examples of activities, and then us together going through this brainstorming and deciding. It will not be Clara coming to you, do this and that. You have to agree if you want to take part in the project. And often if there are 5 project partners, each in the project has its role. It's not that you just get the money and you can do whatever, so it has to be predefined. If the goal of the project is building capacity or preparing for the joint meeting, you will have some local activities that you organize or trainings that you do. So it's, but now it's really showing interest.
And probably we all would need to adjust somehow to fit the, let's say, Visegrad call or something, so that there might be some specific path that we will choose. So of course we will try to choose the one that fits the best to us, like, I don't know, education, capacity building, things like that. But if they say, hey, but you as well need to support some of the human rights, we would be slightly more stressed on on information, or you know, if you know what I mean, if I'm like expressing myself well. Okay. That's it.
So okay, maybe like reach out to Clara or me via email and say like, okay, there is interest. Otherwise, we will reach out to you again, because we want to submit some project and test this external grants.
We still have
0. It's 12:30.
Oh, I thought it's 12:45. We still have 8 minutes, no? Do we still have 8 minutes? No. It's so. Ideally, approach me here and just tell me, hey, yeah, I'm interested. We need to find. This would be our conditions. It would be most helpful for me now to speed the process up. So if you're interested or your affiliate might be interested, just like let me know.
Or if
ideally
you're not sure,
here.
just come to us. Like
Yeah, during the break now, during lunch till tomorrow. I'm here till the evening. So just let me know, and the presentation is on. It's on Commons. So there is as well the countries. Somewhere it's like Moldova. Somewhere it's Kosovo too. So like depends, and then we. And sorry, I can't be more like precise, but this is the first step.
Yes, first step is having interest. It's good. It's good. It's precise enough. Okay.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Thank you. Have a nice lunch.